let's start. So, like, could you at least tell me give a background about yourself, like where you are working and what's your work experience and stuff like that?
Okay, myself. Uh, okay, myself. You would have seen my profile in LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
So as per that, as per my experience and education is concerned, I have done an education basically in aeronautical and aerospace,
Okay.
bachelor's of engineering in aeronautical, and masters of science in aerospace engineering
Okay.
abroad in UK, and bachelor's degrees in India.
Got it. And right now
And
you're working at?
I right now I'm working at DRDO, AD lab in Bangalore,
Okay.
Indiranagar.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Right. That's
So
really nice.
I'm basically work for the composite technologies.
Composite technology. Got it. Okay. Could you give me a bit of background about composite technologies? I don't know exactly what it is.
Um, okay, your background is from which domain?
Okay. I'm from computer science.
Okay, say as you're into computer science, you would have seen your old system screens and all, right?
Yeah.
That CRT screens that will be big, and would have seen some back covered covered with the your monitors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is kind of a plastic. Okay.
Hmm.
So if at all the common things, it is not in use as far as in everyday life is concerned, composites. But as far as the composites concerned, it is majorly used in aerospace and few defense applications. Like it has been used used to do the bulletproof jackets, helicopter armor panels, and you would have seen surveillance UAVs. Maybe you would have come around what is UAVs,
Yeah.
unmanned aerial vehicles. They use it in the national for defense purpose, for surveillance and remaining stuffs.
Yes.
So those things and all are being made with the composites. Moreover, now aerospace applications are moreover into push towards the composite technologies, because basically composites are nothing like a plastics, but they are not exactly like plastics. They are made from two or different materials like carbon, glass, Kevlar. So these types of materials is being made of. They extract the fibers from that respective material, and that is being made into kind of a fabric. Like fabric is nothing like how your clothes is being weaved.
Yeah. Okay.
So the raw material will be weaved like a roll of kind of a cloth. So from that we basically, we do the layup uh, with the help of the resin, where it makes the cloth hardened and make sure it is used for applications. Basically, the composites advantage is that it has the low weight is to high strength ratio.
Got it. Hmm.
So if it's already applied to an aircraft, say the aircraft going on such a high altitude, carrying so much load, carrying so much people and stuffs, it needs more power to fly so much altitude, right?
Yeah.
So
And
in
it
that
needs
case,
to be less weight.
yeah, it has to be made less weight. With this help of the composite materials, it is made in less weight, and it is more durable as well.
Got it. So
It's
you're
just
working on
one
these materials right now.
we manufacture components for the UAVs, because we are into Ministry of Defense and Services, R&D. So we do UAVs, and we do stuff like that for the national defense.
Got it. That seems nice. Okay. So, like, could you tell me how you got interested in this field?
That's not so much interested in that field. I was not prepared for engineering at all when I was completing my high school.
Okay.
So basically, I was an aspirant candidate to get inside the defense, like army and all stuff.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to,
Yeah. I
yeah,
have a
please go
couple
ahead.
of friends who want to get into army. So they're giving NDA exams and stuff like that.
Okay. So basically, about my this thing, I just wanted to have a basic degree So with the basic degree I can go in for the interviews, NDA like that, or SSB, something like that. So I just joined in for my BSc Computer Science back in Chennai, where if you have ever heard of Loyola College.
Okay. Loyola.
Yeah, Loyola College in Chennai. So I just joined BSc Computer Science because I just want a basic degree to join into any defense or army services. So for which I joined in there. I started studying for a couple of 2 or 3 months BSc Computer Science as well. The meantime, I thought I'll start preparing for SSB. I was an NCC cadet for 2 3 years. I mean 2 3 months, even simultaneously, so that it will be helpful for my SSB interviews as well. So I was about for that, but eventually, as time passed by, within next 3 months, I had the counseling for the engineering,
Hmm.
where I was called up for the counseling, and where in which I mean, like basically from I'm the only kid for my parent, so they wanted to put me into the engineering. They didn't want to put it in my basic degree, so I was just pushed into the engineering. On the very first day of my college, I decided whether I had a couple of seats vacant for me, whether I had to go for electrical or aerospace. As I was not so much fond of electrical, I chose aeronautical in my BE. So this is how I ended up in aeronautical. It was not I was not so much passionate about this aerospace or aeronautical. So eventually, after 4 years of studies, and then I decided to go for masters, because basically at back in 2011 there was not so much scope back in India for aerospace or aeronautical engineering in inside India. So I wanted to do masters, and I thought I'll pick up a job somewhere abroad.
Okay.
That is the reason I picked up MS in aerospace engineering in UK.
Okay. So is that like a 2 year course?
Over yeah, in UK it's just 1 year course of MS.
Okay.
But as far as the other countries, other parts of the globe is concerned, it will be couple of years.
Okay. So like as you said that you couldn't find a lot of so you wanted to get a job abroad after getting masters in the UK, right? So
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now
yeah.
you're working at DRDO. So like could you
Yes.
like tell us like if someone wants to work in India, what is like his or her job opportunities available right now in India? Like,
Available in India, as in there are a lot of jobs coming up. There are a lot of jobs available. As in, basically I'm into aerospace or aeronautical. Maybe I can give you a couple of points on that. So
yeah.
you're concerned about my field, right?
Yes, yes. Aerospace engineering.
Okay. With respect to the aerospace engineering, see, there are multiple options. If at all, if you are graduate from undergraduation, you can basically come out, and you can. There are actually four categories in any domain you pick. Let it be an IT, or let it be an automobile, let it be an aerospace. Irrespective of the domain, there will be four sectors. The first sectors would be R&D, research and development. The second sectors will be the engineering services, like basically like as you are into computer science background, like how you work on coding or automation, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that is nothing but engineering services, where you basically sit down on a desktop or on a system based work on and software job, white collar job. So that is nothing but an engineering services. The third sector would be the manufacturing, like where this your engineering services, like yeah, it is where you basically write a code or you design something, right?
Mm.
So that will be coming into the action, the manufacturing, that will come out as the proper product.
Okay.
So that product's life cycle will be in the manufacturing and those stuffs. And finally will be the servicing, where in which the people starts using it, and for that regular proper life cycle, it will be maintained properly. Like it has to be, say in case of your bike, it has to be given for service for every periodically. In case of your apps, it has to be updated depending on the customer's user interface or their usage, depending on the example is as in your example your basically your furnitures, it has to be refurbished every now often then because it has been used. So these are the four categories of anything that has been mentioned in any domain you go into. So as far as the job is concerned, see, when you are really passionate about R&D, then in that basically you have to go in for the very much competitive exams like GATE or basically our India is prone towards the GATE, as you know, right?
Yeah.
So those you have to be good in GATE and go in for any R&D organizations. Like if you start applying for it, you'll obviously get into any post, you will get into that. Like basically if job opportunities as in like R&Ds, you would have seen JRF, like something but a junior research fellow.
Yeah.
So that is the basic where you can get inside the R&D as a basic undergraduate member with a good gate score.
Okay.
And when it comes to the engineering domain, that is the only way as far as I know, being an undergraduate, if you want to get inside the any R&D organization, you should have a good score in your gate. Obviously if you have good score in gate, you would be able to crack the interviews inside the whenever you are called in for.
Okay.
So that is the only way as an undergraduation. And if at all you are a master's in master's degree graduate, and maybe you can go in for a SRF, senior research fellow, or again JRF also it's meant for that. So and if at all if at all there is some direct entry, okay, if at all there is some more number of projects in any organizations, they call in for lateral entry where they ask in for the direct scientists. So for which you have to keep watching these whenever you want to go in for, you have to keep watching these sites for the openings whenever they'll be open upon. And when it comes to engineering services, being an undergraduate, you should be good in your logical, you should be good in your software skills. The whatever softwares you want to get inside, let's say if you are going for the implementation, you have to be good in coding. If you want to go in for any testing, you should be good in automation. So similarly, if at all, basically in aerospace, if you want to go in as a design engineer or analyzing analysis, so you have different designing software is there, analyzing software is there. So you should have basic knowledge in your softwares and good in logical reasoning and stuff, because there will be a lot of engineering drawings where you have to keep undergoing understanding stuffs and all. So once you get inside the company based on the projects, you'll automatically get inside the your your books, and nowhere your books is going to help you in your interview purpose.
Yeah.
And when it comes to manufacturing, it's totally different. It is not like your white collar job sitting Monday to Friday and taking a weekend off. It will not be like that in the manufacturing base. If at all you are not interested in your desktop job, you want to get inside the manufacturing, you want to make sure things are going fine and all. So in that case, in with respect to the aerospace, there are a good hand number of companies are from the India right now. So you can keep watching where in which again, as an fresher, you will not be given any opportunity. You can put it in quotes. Fresher nowhere will be given an opportunity. You have to start up with as a trainee. If at all we are starting up from an manufacturing, basic salary will be very much basic. It will not be as per your expectation at all. So you have to start, like when it comes to manufacturing, there are a lot of lot of postings, like it will be a process engineer, let it be an assembly engineer, let it be a structures engineer, let it be an manufacturing engineer. So there are different kinds of posting where you can choose which one you want. There's a quality engineer.
Okay. So you start up
Then
as a trainee, and then you're gonna get offered a job if you do good at it.
if at all you want to get inside the manufacturing, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If at all, even in case of maintenance also as well, it is the same. Like if in case of aerospace, in maintenance it takes an ample time, because basically if at all you want to go inside the maintenance, in the first place you need not do any engineering degree at all.
Okay.
You have to do an 3 degree. It's neither a degree nor an diploma course. It's just a certified course, which is known as AME, Aircraft Maintenance Engineering. It's just a 3 years course where you study about the aircraft, totally about the aircraft, how it flies and how it is all maintained. So once that is done, this is a 3 years course where in which you will be in the institution for 2.5 years. So remaining 6 months of the course you will be spending your 6 months of time in any of the MRO organizations as an internship. You have to be an OJT, on job training, for 6 months. Once you get a certification from that respective MRO organizations saying that you have been there for 6 months as an OJT, that is when it's meant that you have completed the course. Otherwise, you have not completed the course. So after that, MRO is nothing but maintenance, repair, and overhaul of an aircraft. So once that 3 years is done, you have to start working in any MRO again, any MRO organizations for minimum of 4 years, minimum of 4 years. Plus there are kind of 12 modules and 16 modules. There are 12 modules for the mechanical background people, and there will be 16 modules for the avionics background people, whichever stream you are going to choose. So you have to complete the 12 exams, which is on online, which is conducted by DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation. That will be conducted over online for the terms have changed nowadays. Earlier it used to be 1.5 hours exams. Now it is just 45 minutes of online exam, I believe. So I'm not sure about it, Pakka. So those stuff you have to complete. So once you complete 12 exams or 12 modules or 16 modules, after that, even after that, you are not a complete AME. After that, whichever aircraft you have been working, say there are a lot of kinds of aircrafts. For as you are not into the aeronautical background, I'm just telling an example. You would have seen so many different cars on road, right?
Yeah.
Like let it be an Maruti, or let it be an Hyundai, let it be an Suzuki. Different. There are so much different kinds of cars, right? So similarly, there are varieties of aircraft flying on air. Let it be an Airbus, or let it be an Boeing, let it be an Cessna CJ2 plus, or let it be an helicopter, or let it be an piston engine aircraft. So there are different kinds of aircraft over there. So whatever you have been working for last 4 years as an OJT or as a trainee in any MRO, so that you have to undergo to that respective company. Like if you're working under Airbus, you have to go to the Airbus. They will conduct an training program, and they will give you an certification saying that you are being trained in this specific uh, part of an aircraft. Say you are structure and you will be trained in the wings, or you will be structured in the fuselage. So you will be specialized in something else. So you will be completing that training and coming back to India, or wherever the respective. I have to coming back to India, and again you have to apply for the license in DGCA. As you have told you, these exams are conducted by Director General of Civil Aviation. So you have to apply for the license with them. So they will come to your MRO organization. They'll conduct an interview for you on the hangar with the aircraft right on there. They'll conduct an interview. How did you do it? Or how will you do it? These things. So based on their your interview is been cracked, after then you will be given an like a certification saying that you are an aircraft maintenance engineer, basically on like you're a structured engineer with the wings or with the fuselage, or in the engine. Specifically, you will be given certification. So that is when you start earning a good amount, and you'll be a proper engineer. Till then, you are just an technician, or basically an on-job trainee or a trainee, something like that, till 4 or 5 years. So after that, after and this training will not be undertaken by an individual. So that respective company has to send you. Say if you're working in an Indigo, you are working for 5 years and you have completed all your 12 modules, and then you are waiting for your this thing, then Indigo has to take an action sending you to the proper training for the respective aircraft company. That is when it has been allowed. Otherwise, you cannot go on your individual, because that is basically on a competition basis on a company. Say, for example, if you are in a computer science background, if you are an IT job holder, say if you want to go to an on-site, will you be getting an on-site opportunity immediately after 6 months of to join the company?
No, not at all. That's not how it works.
So it's basically on the priority. So
Yes.
there are so many of the engineers working back on the floor for a long time. So who is good, who is better on that, who is actually really authorized, or who is really worth it. That is when people are picked up, and that training cost will be borne by the company.
Okay.
Let it be 25 lakhs or 50 lakhs, whatever the manufacturer is going to bond for it. That will be taken up by the company. They'll pay you the money. They'll send you for the training. They'll make sure you complete the training and come back, and they'll make sure that you attend the interview for the DGCA. So once you crack the interview, the company who has bond the your training fees, no,
Yeah.
they'll make sure you're with the company for next 3 years or 5 years, so that you are not going out wasting their money.
Hmm.
So this is how basically it works. Apart from that, when it comes to the aerospace, there is one more category called activities. Like you know about the airport.
Yeah.
So there you can also apply for some Airport Authority of India's opening, like junior engineer or junior assistant, something like that in any offices in Airport Authority of India or any airports, private airports or this airports and all. So basically, as an engineering student, they can go for this. Apart from that, there are few other BSc in avionics, BSc in aviation industry, and after that, they have masters in MBA in aviation and hospitality management. So something like that, they are also few. They can also take up that. So these are all the wide options where they can go up for the opportunities when it comes to the aerospace.
Hmm. It seems a bit complicated is all. Yeah.
Yeah, that is you have to take an action whenever you are in your pre-final year. It is like when it comes to the computer or IT, you have only one or two options. Either you go for the coding or the automation.
Yeah.
When it comes to the automobile, again they have kind of all this automobile, aeronautical, mechanical, all these fields has so many differentiations in their job selections. And when it comes to aerospace, they have one more added, like for maintenance, they have to do such things. It's not that if you have done engineering, you cannot go for the maintenance at all. If you have done in engineering and you can go for the maintenance, where in which I have told you 4 years for the AME people, right? When you
Yeah.
have done for the engineering, you can just finish it in 3 years. So it will be a year less for your training. So within 3 years, you can go in for the interviews or something like that, because within 3 months 3 years you will be able to complete all the 12 modules. That is not a big this thing. And apart from that, if you want to go abroad or not, you can go. Like there is one more called EASA. I forgot the abbreviation for that. EASA.
Okay.
If you Google it, you will get to know what is EASA is. And even they have the kind of this modules where you complete these modules. You can, with the help of that module, you can apply abroad, any Middle East countries or any abroad countries. With that EASA certification, it is always uh, valid around the globe.
Hmm.
So these are the opportunities where people can take when it comes to the aerospace or aeronautical engineering.
Okay. So yeah. Yeah. One more thing. So I have seen your LinkedIn profile. So you were a R&D engineer before you transferred to a manufacturing engineer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, could you tell me advantages of like both job titles, like what you have faced and what are the disadvantages, and why did you switch from the R&D section to the manufacturing section?
See, basically, I'm a manufacturing engineer now in an R&D organization.
Okay.
Initially, I was an R&D engineer in a manufacturing section.
Okay.
Okay, that is the basic difference. R&D, as in I started working for the projects, like new projects where I can work with. I had to bring in the new projects for the company. Like I had to bring in new ideas where company can boom up with the current technologies, whatever they are having on floor. Because few companies, most of the companies, they don't want to invest more, but without investing more, they want to take up the turnovers. So
Mm.
based on that, peoples are been employed to make more ideas or generate ideas and stuff like that. I was into R&D, like I had to take up more projects, do more projects on my own. Like I had to bring in new ideas where a company can make the better turnover in an year. And eventually, I was started as an R&D engineer, and in my previous company, I was there for nearly 5 years. As my previous company was, I told you four sectors, right?
Yeah.
My previous employer was almost in all the sectors
Okay.
in aerospace. They are the pioneer in aerospace industry, where they had everything in under one roof. Let it be engineering services, let it be manufacturing, let it be an airport activities, or let it be an maintenance. It everything was available under one roof. When I get inside the office, I can see an aircraft landing and taking off. I can still see an aircraft getting maintained. I can still see an aircraft parts being manufactured. I can still get inside and lab where engineering services is being done.
Okay.
So based on this, all things available under one roof, had an opportunity to do some R&D. Like I was the guy who was allowed almost into every damn section in the industry. Like I was allowed into the engineering sections. I was allowed into the manufacturing floor. I was allowed to the airport. I was allowed to talk to a pilot. I was allowed to talk to any engineer. I mean, any maintenance engineer. I was allowed to take any aircraft's life cycle. So stuffs like that. So I got a good exposure over there. So after which I came here for the manufacturing engineer. Basically, I took up this DRDO because I'm not a permanent employee over there. I'm just a contract engineer. It is just near to my house compared to my previous office. That is the only reason I took up this opportunity. Otherwise, I would have ended up in something else.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So
I
here,
think.
as far as the DRDO is concerned, I am not allowed to tell what stuff I do, but still I can give you some like basic ideas. I told you like composites, right? I just do the components based on the where we use it for the UAVs.
Okay. Yeah. I
So
think.
this is the stuff.
Okay. So yeah, just like one or two last questions. So I
Please.
think I got almost all the information.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the perks and the disadvantages of this field. So like, what do you feel are the perks of the field? What do you feel? What are disadvantages
See,
of the field?
perks as in it's simple. Perks as in like when you see it from outside aeronautical engineering, people think the we I mean uh, graduates from aeronautical or aerospace have most knowledge. They are into, I mean, they know kind of most of the things in the aircraft, because when people know about aircraft, they know most of the things. Like even for example, you would have heard people telling you that that is not a rocket science. It's just a simple thing where you can understand. So basically we study even rocket science.
Okay.
So that is a basic perk. Whenever I've seen from outside, when you see people know, even I myself have been tagged as overqualified in many of the interviews.
Okay.
And again, disadvantages, I'll tell you the same thing. As we have been considered in that way, it is not so easy to get a job in the market.
Hmm. Yeah.
So this is how I will tell you that. Apart from this, advantages as in, basically, if you are an engineering student, you enjoy as how every other engineering people enjoy. And simultaneously you learn a better I mean a step ahead other than better other than the other engineering students. That's it, nothing else. Because when it comes to them, they learn on the books or they on the just the laptops. But when it comes to the aerospace or this thing, you have to study certain things when it's outside the book. On air also you have to keep studying. So how it actually works, how it actually get us further and all. So this is a, it's not that aeronautical is always high. Every other field has their own set of knowledge. It's not that but what people think is that way. It's not that aeronautical or aerospace engineers are high than the other, but still
Yeah.
we people understand that.
I mean, it's
See,
rare to see an aerospace engineer as well, right? So
sorry.
it's rare to see an aerospace engineer as well. So I could probably name 5 people who I know are, mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, computer science engineers, myself included.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't see a lot of aerospace engineers. In fact, you are the first one that I've seen.
That's what I'm telling you. That will be a 1,000 out of one.
Yeah, and it's
But
considered tough. So even I've heard about it. So even I think it's tough. So yeah, that's sad.
it is tough. I don't deny it. It's not tough,
Yeah,
but still it's not considered as so much high and all. There's just another group of study where people do not have so much
knowledge
uh,
about.
knowledge or tend to pick it up. It's basically not the knowledge. As I've told you, it's basically 1,000 out of one. People are kind of afraid. Like example, not people. Maybe now the generation have changed that people want to take up whatever they want as a passion or whatever they like. But even the a generation before now were not so much keen that they have to select their groups or select their stream by themselves. They have been guided by their parents or they have been guided by their neighbors. They have been guided by their family, friends, or by the relatives. So something like that. So
Hmm.
based on the outcomes or based on their previous generation's experience, saying that this stream outside is not so much vast and the job opportunities are very less. So let's not put our kids into that. Let's us put our kids into the place where they definitely come out and cook up with some other jobs. So these were the basic mentality of a generation before us.
Yeah, I think even in our generation, a lot of people actually move into herd mentality kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I've still not seen a lot of people going into aerospace engineering.
That's what basically at the end of the day, when people wants to get into the job, that is what they want to do. Otherwise, they will not actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, one last question. So like, is there any advice that you would like to give to all the future enthusiasts who would like to join as an aerospace engineer, like to become an aerospace engineer?
If at all any futuristic people who wants to get inside aerospace engineer, my only suggestion would be because the that is what this is the mistake I did. I didn't actually choose a path before taking up an course. I just took because I didn't want to go inside that. I took this. If at all you want to come inside this, okay, fine. You are passionate about an aircraft. You are coming inside to an aeronautical or aerospace field. So by the end of your, I mean, pre-final year or something like that, make sure you choose the path whichever you want to set into. That is what my basic request would be. Like, let them be much prepared. If at all they want to come out, they'll be coming out with zero knowledge. When it comes to the books, there are a lot of things they can study, they can lot of things, but nowadays they are seeing videos on YouTube helps a lot them to learn. But into the real world, it's not as same as how they see in the videos or not see in the conceptual books. It is totally different. So whenever they want to before come out, they just have to have a small idea what they want to have to be have become. So example, I'm telling you, if they don't like to sit in front of the computer, If they want to have their hands dirty, then they have to plan their stream according to that. If at all they want to do something else, then you have to start preparing for gate or something like that. So similarly, so basically you should have an idea what you want to do after your studies. That is when you get into a proper place at the end of your graduation. Otherwise it will be very hard after coming out of the okay, till graduation I'm still studying. Okay, after giving your final exam, then somebody will ask, or then you should be thinking what you have to do next. So you are again an year's times or couple of years of time will be going for the preparation. So during your college itself, the preparation will be as equal as how you do it for your curriculum. It will not be so much different. So it will be just added extra time. That's it. You'll not waste much of your time after your graduation. Basically, if you don't do it, see, you are wasting one more year. In that year, an added 1,000 graduates will be coming out. You will be losing a step away. If at all you are good in like preparing for it, you'll be step ahead. Otherwise you'll be step behind the 1,000 people, because there are someone, as you know, generations coming ahead, and they are much more smarter than what the people are now.
Mm.
So you are creating a step away from your opportunity by yourself. So that is what I want to tell.
Okay. Thanks a lot. This is really helpful.